Hi everyone, it's Tonya and it's day 14 of the Marion Smith Challenge, and today I want to share with you a couple of stamping techniques and dyeing or staining techniques. First of all, over at my dyeing station, I have these tubs of water, which I showed you guys the other day in the purple dye tutorial. And what I do is, after I'm satisfied that I have completely made up the color that I'm after, I will try and write down the colors that were used. And unfortunately, this is why I'm not a chemist. I cannot measure anything. I do the same thing when I'm cooking. Don't ask me for a recipe. I just do it till the color turns out the color I want. This color here is the brown RIT dye. Very little of it. Probably, I would estimate maybe 1/8 of a cup, maybe a couple tablespoons, well actually probably closer to 3 tablespoons of the dye to a tub of water. And when I say tub, I mean like those little containers that lunch meat comes in. And it had kind of a purplish tint all on its own, and if I'd have known that, I probably wouldn't have bought the purple. I probably would have just stuck with this. But I wasn't happy with that, so I threw in some butterscotch, and I threw in, but the more I added to it, I put a burnt umber in it, and the more I added to it, the darker it got, but it was still coming out pinkish tone. Well, I know from working with color that green neutralizes red, so I added some lettuce to it, and as soon as I did, I added the lettuce color wash, and as soon as I did, I got this. Look at this. So, the best advice I can give you when you're coming up with stains is, one, use scrap paper until you figure out, you know, the color that you want. I use white as my core color, and then, or at least the color of the scrap paper that you're going to be dyeing, you know, until you come out with the color. So this was the RIT dye, the brown by itself, and this was adding butterscotch, umber, and lettuce ink. So you see the difference? I added no more water. Do you see what happened? The green of the lettuce neutralized some of the reddish and blue tones in this color, and the butterscotch kind of picked up some of that too. And when I say butterscotch, I mean just a couple of drops. I'm not talking a lot of ink. And the umber was a little darker, so it gave it a little more of a brownie color, but then it was still coming out kind of a mauvey pink. Okay, this is after I added the burnt umber. This was after I added the butterscotch. This was after I added the lettuce. So look at all of those different colors. So when when you're messing with this stuff, it's just a matter of having a variety of ink colors and just playing, measuring. If you're not, I mean, if you need to write it down, get a pen and paper. I mean, this is at my station. Pen and paper, write it down until you know exactly what you did. I just guess because I just know color. When I dip it in, I'll know, oh, I need a little bit of this or a little bit of that. It's just like cooking, you know. So there's one tip. The other tip would be that if you know what shape you want to go ahead and cut, then go ahead and cut it before you actually dye it. So with all of those that were the purple that I did the photo mats, I went ahead and pre-cut them to the size. Now the reason for that is that depending on how long you soak it in that solution, sometimes that color does not soak all the way through to the core. So as you know from scrapbooking even, that if you have a white core paper but it's dyed on the top and the bottom, when you cut it, you're going to get a white core ridge. So to avoid that ridge, if I know what shape I'm going for, like if I know I'm going to do tags, then I go ahead and pre-cut them into tags and do it. If I know I'm going to need the shape, then I pre-cut it this way and then dip it. That way, all of my sides are done, and I don't have to come in and stain it on the edges unless I want to. So that's the second tip. The third tip is when you're dyeing, and the reason this nasty tray is sitting here is I bought some new cookie sheets for my kitchen. Well, these are like the ones that have the jelly roll kind of sheets. I bought some stoneware and I kept these because they weren't bad. I just didn't want to use them anymore. So I brought them in here. And what I do is I will line them with paper bags. I know in one of my room videos you probably saw stacks and stacks of brown paper and brown paper bags. I will also roll paper towels out on top of here and then lay my tags as I dip them. I have a pair of tweezers over there that are the plastic ones from Ranger, and I just dip it, pull it out, and lay it down. If you stack more than one on top of each other in the dipping solution, then what happens is as it soaks in, the one that lands on top becomes a mask, and it masks the color. It keeps the dye from soaking in all the way to the core in the spot that it's sitting on top of. So you could get some really cool looking shapes, but it might not be what you're after. So what I do, if I want to be exact, is I just pick up those tweezers, drop it in, drop it out, or drop it in, leave it in as long as I need to leave it in, and pull it out. Then I layer them on top of these cookie sheets, on top of a roll of paper towels or something like that. Now, please keep in mind that if you lay it on top of paper towels and they have a embossed indentation on them, then that embossed indentation becomes part of the texture of the tag or whatever. That might be a cool effect. It might be something that annoys you. So if you don't want that texture that is on the paper towel, then use a flat surface to let them dry on. I allow my tags to dry for at least 30 to 45 minutes on their own, and I'm telling you, they are soaking, sopping wet, depending on how long I left them in that solution. So I don't want to stand here with a heat gun all day long. That's not my goal here. My goal is to get in and get out. So like I said, I have several of these trays, just like a baker would. I'll lay one down and then come back and lay one across this way and lay one going across this way and one laying across this way. And I put them over to dry. And then later, after they've dried and I've cleaned up my mess and I'm de-inking my fingers, I come back with my heat tool and I set them. This is the next tip, is set the color that is on the tag. These are all dyes. Set the color that is on the tag before you store them away, because if you don't heat set it, these are all dyes. And what would happen is if you got it wet, it might not be set all the way. So I just like to just hit it really quick on both sides with the heat gun, just to kind of set the dye, set it. It's just, most of the dyes that I use are called to be, whenever you read the back of the instructions on it, when you're dyeing, it says to heat set it. So I don't want to throw it in my dryer, so I just hit it with a heat tool. Okay, so that's my tips for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to also post today, and I know YouTube sometimes if you post more than one video in a day, it doesn't show up. But I'm going to also try and post today a little tutorial on how I made these tags. This will be a beginner tutorial, so look for that. I wanted to have, all of these tags will be pre-made in my Blessed book for the class that I'm teaching, because we don't have time to go over all of these techniques and things. But I wanted them to have a really nice tag in their book, so I'm going to go ahead and pre-make them. So the next video, look for the next video. It won't be a challenge video. It'll just say a tag techniques. But look for that in my channel. I'm going to try and videotape it tonight, so it might get posted tonight or tomorrow morning. But it's going to be a reference point for the people taking the class so that they know how to make these if they ever decide they want to do this in future. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave me comments. Thanks. See you on day 15.